Out of the dawn of reality, I am come this day to speak to you, precious ones, of the mysteries of God that are all around you, veiling themselves in perfection, and yet oftentimes being passed unnoticed. You, precious ones, are children of the light, who are clothed at times with elements of shadowed substance through custom and habit, through folklore, and through the ideas and concepts that surround you, swirling as it were with a fog and mist of mankind's own night sense, which is in one sense opposed to the light in its beauteous essence as it pours forth with all of the intelligence of God. You are at all times, whether waking or sleeping, a very important part of God. For the Father has not made, O precious ones, any one individual as being separate from himself. Have you thought on it that it cannot be that one can manifest life and still be imperfect within? The perfection of God is your life, and if the light of that perfection were to go out, you would cease to be. In the shimmering mists of the world itself, you are frequently caught up in an artificial sense which does not give to you or convey to you the message of the great divine realities. It was only a few short years ago that I too wore a veil of flesh such as you now wear, and I knew the golden light of the early dawn, being addicted to the idea of rising early. And I often was enmeshed in the tangible light rays of beloved Helios as he poured forth his radiance to the community where I abode. My consecration continued after that luminous orb had sunk beneath the horizon line in the west, and I chaliced my attention always toward God, toward the starry hosts of light that I knew were always present with me. There is something, blessed ones, to be said for holding an immaculate concept of heaven and not permitting the sordid ideas that occupy the minds of men to stain the concepts of the heart and mind as pertains to heaven in its wondrous, invisible, yet omnipresent reality. O blessed ones, as I gazed up in thought toward God's face, I felt within my heart the sense of His presence always. I cannot honestly recall from earliest childhood a moment of being absent from the Lord, and yet the outgoings of my soul to Him did not prevent my becoming and manifesting His love to all those whom I met. After all, precious ones, were they not too a part of this radiance? E'en though they knew it not, they had this flame of His presence within them. And so I spent happy hour after happy hour in contemplation of the great dawning reality, which in all of its simplicity and wonder was the truth of God. It would have been possible for me to have continued many more years upon the planet if it had not been the grace of beloved Saint Germain which enabled me not only to meet my own twin flame, but also to obtain my ascension and freedom. Today now, as we gaze upon the youth of the world, the thought comes to us that they are often at the crossroads of life. You have perhaps seen a crossroad where as many as 50 or 100 signs were nailed upon posts showing the mileage to various parts of the earth, most bewildering to those not geographically acquainted. Precious ones, the youth of the world today, face to face with the seeming realities of life, often in their heart's desiring, seem to feel alone, and in a spirit of essential wonder ponder much upon life and its full meaning. O blessed ones, they need the counsel and understanding of mankind, of those of more mature years. They need also the love which must be given with great understanding. and they need to also be givers of love to others. Else it is so easy for them to become brittle and sharp. And then, when this occurs, it is as though their soul were being shattered to pieces day after day, whereas God would bestow the balm of His cosmic peace upon these dear neophyte hearts, reaching out to find more of His precious treasure, of His understanding, and of His love. Unfortunately, precious ones, with all of mankind seeking today, there is always the possibilities of man's becoming enmeshed in the material senses to the point where it seems to them as though there is not in existence but material things and material intelligence. The power of the intellect alone would be very brittle and without understanding if it were not infused with the wondrous power of the Holy Spirit. And so all men need and require to have the golden oil of God's illumination lit and burning in the lamps of their being, that they may understand how to give love to one another, and to know that in giving love they are giving more than material things. There are many people today whose hearts are most kind, who think in terms of giving gifts to one another, and as they bestow these gifts upon one another, they feel a sense of great accomplishment. And yet, precious ones, the gifts are but material things. There are many individuals who, upon receiving the gift of love, the seemingly invisible, intangible graces of God, feel as though they have received naught, for they have learned and become accustomed to gaze at the outer and feel that only that can suffice. Today, then, I would call the attention of the youth of the world and all mankind to the mighty, tangible power of the Holy Spirit and the spiritual graces of God as the only sole realities of life. These realities can never be replaced by the mere trinkets and baubles of the outer world, which have no power, not even the power of a talisman, to guard the person of the wearer. Then know, O blessed ones, that to have spiritual grace and protection during the hours of need means everything to the soul, and is of more import than all outer accomplishments. For the dragons and evil beasts of mankind's creation lie in wait to trap and ensnare the souls of the youth of the world with so many devices which mankind are so ignorant of. And when they are snared and entrapped, they become less and less alert to the mighty divine powers of the universe, and they begin to feel as though they are on a great turning wheel from which there is no escape. And in their bewilderment, they sometimes turn to the human, materialistic things of life, and so their precious soul becomes a castaway from the mighty tide of divinity, and they lose the most important gifts and graces which they could otherwise attain. I myself do not feel that my education was interrupted by my ascension, for today I minister to many of the youth of the world who are receptive to call to me, and together with Bob and Rex and Nada, I serve to minister to those evolving souls who seek to understand the wonders of the coming race and the coming kingdom, who understand God's plan and the message of Jesus which he spake, saying, "Other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them too shall I bring with me, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd." The mighty universal consciousness of God, as it extends through all of the heavens, bears with it the wonderful grace of light. And yet, to those who have not cultivated spiritual awareness, it passes them by, and they do not see, although they have eyes and ears and the organs of sense. They do not see, and those who see do not relate their conceptions and vision to the realities of life. They do not place the mighty spiritual instruction within the folds of their consciousness so as to be readily available to them at their hour of need. And thus they lose again the wonderful opportunities to progress onward and onward and onward. O blessed ones, in divine eagerness I come to you. I desire to implement within you the spirit of the inquiring mind that in its innate divinity finds joy in each new discovery of God's kingdom, the wondrous mind that reflects light like a diamond sparkles with the splendor of the sunlight, or like a quiet and tranquil lake reflects the moonlight, calm and cool and full orbed with luminosity. The faces of mankind can be illumined, and the consciousness of mankind can be illumined together with his countenance, until the faces of men will shine with the holy flame of God illumination. And this is no detraction to the beauty of the individual, but it is the great cosmic attraction of light that begets light in those who see and behold. And so the infectious qualities of laughter and the rippling joys of the Holy One of God begin to spread abroad everywhere throughout the universal consciousness. And it is as though the entire universe laughed with ripples of happiness and peace and compassion. A joy that is boundless then cannot be contained within the framework of an individual, but must overflow the banks of that individual's being and go out and out and out and out into space until it returns at last back to the giver and the sender, carrying with it the blessings of all those who have received that which was sent forth. But, oh, precious ones, conversely, when men send out doubts and fears and confusion and even a spirit of naughtiness, it returns to them having gathered more of like quality, and causes them, as Goliath of old, to receive the stone flung from the hand of the David of cosmic energy. You see, precious ones, whether the energy you use is qualified for good or ill, it is God's energy that is employed and that flings forth into space. And if it be charged or surcharged with dissonant qualities, qualities of hate or negation, it cannot help but gather more of that which is its kind, for like attracts like. But when mankind send forth naught but God's love, they can receive naught but his love in return. for the very screen of cosmic protection that is afforded to mankind by this joyous perception of holy reunion with the presence is itself the greatest armor, which cannot ever have a chink manifesting in it, for it is completely the intensity of the light's action flowing forth from the heart flame, bringing to all blessings from the heart of God. Now, dear ones, as I speak to you, I urge you to think of your own heart as the heart of God. For a long time you have thought of the heart of God as though far removed and in some distant clime or portion of space. But is it not true that your heart belongs to God? If your heart belongs to God, is it not then His? And if it be His heart, is He not just as close as your own beating heart? Well then, blessed ones, can you not see how that you can receive within yourselves every good and perfect thing and bring it forth from the good heart that is within the earth form, multitudes of cosmic blessings? Now, I am certain that all of you are aware of the power of language to convey to men's hearts various ideas and concepts. But when all is said and done, the basic simplicity of the kingdom of God reveals to mankind not necessarily a many-faceted concept, but a concept with perhaps, shall we say, 7 planes. And mankind finds in the basic star of mighty victory the concept of 6 points of dazzling light formed by the triangle descending and the triangle ascending, but having within the center of the triangle the symbolical presence of the dual flame of the Holy Spirit, the cloven tongues that sits within the center of man's being and relates all individuals to the mighty presence of life and makes of all one, even in fulfillment of Jesus' prayer, I pray, O Father, that they may be made one even as we are one. And so, blessed ones, there is naught of loss in this concept, but all of gain. And those who in their own confusion of senses and in their lack of understanding desire to merely glamorize spiritual techniques and teachings do not always obtain the same blessings which those who are content to be as little children and to live as children of the light are. Therefore, you see, blessed ones, God is never mocked, and those who seek to deceive, deceive but themselves. In honesty of heart and purity of motive, as you were told earlier, find then the pathway that leads to noble eternal achievement, whereby the divine flame of eternal youth that is in all hearts may draw forth so much of the strands of ascended master light substance that the very garment you wear, your spiritual seamless garment, will always serve to protect the divine idea that God planted within your being, the seed of God that will bring forth much fruit. Precious ones, are not the floral offerings of nature redundant? Are they not a blessing to feast the eye of man? O blessed ones, if you could only see and perceive with the inner eyes of the soul and see the wondrous creations of these flowers by the tiny devas that actually construct them, that draw from the celestial patterns the wondrous soft velvet texture patterns, and cause the flower offerings to spring forth from the stalk and root, and to extend the perfumed fragrance of life into the atmosphere, the exchange by photosynthesis, and the bringing into manifestation of the chlorophyll, the purity of the healing greens of nature floods forth through the world, and from the heart of Amaryllis, the goddess of spring, robing the world in the beauty of summer and the summerland magic of God's great heart of light. But there are lands and planets and stars and systems of worlds so vast in the far reaches of eternity as to stagger the imagination of many of the ascended masters. And yet you, O mankind of earth, inhabit this star known for so long as the sorrowful one, and wait the dawn of immortality here upon the planet as mankind begin to achieve the outpicturing of the kingdom of God. And yet one by one, individuals here are robed in garments celestial and raised to the ascended state to become assistants in the mighty services of life. For blessed ones, each time there is an accident and an individual passes on away from their loved ones and their friends and familiar scenes, they have great need, unless they be schooled in these laws and understanding. Precious ones, do you realize that when they go forth and find themselves without a physical form and come to consciousness to speak to man, and man cannot hear, when they stand, as it were, in the presence of those they love, and they cannot see them or communicate, can you not realize how very necessary it is that workers be employed from that side of life to receive them, to instruct them, to guide them, to cut them free from physical and form attachments, and to lift them to planes of consciousness where they will be instructed in the techniques of heaven's law? Even the movement of their body must be passed on to them. They must be shown how to move the physical form in the higher realms. And I am not referring, blessed ones, to the physical body that they have left, but to the body that seems the physical body, which they yet retain. Therefore, you see, blessed ones, many of them are immobilized. They do not even know how to generate the power of locomotion there. And so they stand and stand and stand. And some have stood for as long as 40 years in one spot, more or less, waiting and waiting to be shown, simply because there were not enough individuals to instruct them, or they were not receptive to the vibratory actions of the cosmic teachers. Do you not see then how necessary it is that men be prepared? Do you not see the import of weaving a cosmic garment of light? Do you not see the import of holding your attention upon God and upon the saints and the master teachers of the race? Do you not see how that holiness here and now is essential to fulfill the teachings of light in all the splendor of divine illumination, pouring forth and saying, "He that is holy, let him be holy still, and he that is filthy, let him be filthy still." For when men step through the veil or change called death, they come as they are, and the change does not deify them or exalt them into that which they were not while still here. And therefore, this is the place here upon earth where you must win your laurels, either your ascension or your victory or progress, as the case may be. You cannot change the measureless law, the infinite perfection of the universe, for God in his tender love would often have set it aside for some aspiring one, which was a particularly pathetic case, and yet the law has never been changed in its very basic structure, but has remained constant as the pole star of the being of God. This is comfort in one great sense, for it speaks to all of the Eternal One's own faithfulness and love. He does not waver, the God of thy being, thy own divine presence, and he does not expect that thou shalt waver either. Therefore I say to you all, you must reorientate yourselves, and with God's help you can. We are all ready to assist you, all of the young and spiritually alert ascended beings in our own blazing reality. Stand right behind the veil, waiting your calls, waiting to assist, to teach you the techniques of how you can be a part of that group, if you would, that helps to free those individuals caught and enmeshed in the astral, in the psychic realms, who know not how to obtain their freedom. These individuals would be most pathetic if they were left without some assistance. And yet the angelic host have been instrumental in removing millions of them from the discarnate realms and raising them up to the comforting joys of higher octaves. Yet the harvest is white and the laborers are few by comparison of the great need. So as I leave you now, I wish to tell you once again that underneath the Son of God and the white radiance of his light, that underneath the outer appearance world, underneath form, even the reality of thy own being and its form, and thy consciousness, there is the power of such infinite wonder that if eternity could be made twice as long as it is, it would not be nearly enough to reveal all that ought to be revealed. Therefore, there is an ever-ascending spiral of transcendental reality into which you will enter. Let your hearts beat then with hope and not despair, in spiritual grace and wonder and not confusion, in the mounting power of eagle wings of faith and not the vanity of delusion. O mankind, the realities of heaven are at hand, but you are the ones who must utilize the tools. And as was originally outpictured in the internal techniques of mystical masonry, you must become the co-workers with God to accept the plumb line of his reality, to lay the chief cornerstone in the temple of your being, to be wise master builders, raising a temple and a house of reality to God that shall honor him in the temple thereof. For the Lord thy God is the light of that city celestial, and there is no night in his blessed consciousness. In divine grace, in the spirit of compassion and mercy, in Kuan Yin's and Mother Mary's heart, and with the strong spirit of Bob and Rex and my beloved sister Nada, I thank you, O holy children of God's light, and bid you a radiant good afternoon. This day you have chosen to honor the Father of the universe. precious ones, I am come this night to circle around the planet the beauteous bonds of divine love, to fill the hearts of the children of God in all nations with the wonders of His compassion, which is the flowering of divine hope for and on behalf of world peace. The children of men in times past have not always recognized the quality of God's peace, but in their desire to achieve and to win for themselves a place in the sun, they have lost more than they have ever gained, and have torn asunder the hearts of mothers, the world around, and fathers as well, by the horror of warfare sometimes waged in the very name of the Prince of Peace. And yet such has not been the divine intent, nor will it, nor ever can it be. For the mighty wings of light, which are the wings of the dove of cosmic peace, are spread over the planetary body by the effulgent power of divine love in its mighty surge, as it pours forth from every sincere heart that beats in the name of cosmic mercy. O mankind, how frequently in the past the tremors of indecision and of doubt and of fear have prevented you from opening the sacred treasure chest of your own being and finding therein the key to solve all of the problems of the past and of the present, and to deny to the future the power to hold you in any form of bondage, whether it be a physical outer condition or an inner turmoil of the mind or spirit. The power of God, as it exalts in man the great divine realities, brings to all the crystal clear vision that enables them to see for themselves by inward perception the power of light over all outer darkness that brings the gnashing of human teeth as mankind agonizes and endures the results of his wrong concepts of the past. Long ago, as the so-called cavemen engraved upon the walls of the caves in which they dwelt a form of pictorial writing, the hearts of men beat then in a savage ignorance, and yet to the present hour mankind are often torn in the very midst and centers of great knowledge with the puerile differences that bring about discord and generate strife and evil. Precious ones, mankind must en masse learn to put away these toys that have not brought them any form of enduring satisfaction, and must learn to draw together the mighty treasure of the universe as it is drawn into the heart treasure of each individual light stream, and brings then to that one the inward knowing that reaches out to the entire universe and brings the wisdom of the universe to the very doorstep of the individual. The great Akashic libraries, with their almost infinite storehouse of knowledge, are available to all who will put aside the veils of the flesh and the veils of mere outer reason, and determine with an inward sense of God desire to know the truth of their own being, and then seek to find all of this treasure, all of this wonder, all that is a part of the history of this system of worlds, yea, and of those systems of worlds far beyond the ken of mankind's present knowing, even in the realm of imagination. O blessed ones, there are so many great treasures in the mind of God waiting revealment, and yet so long as mankind continue to be steeped in ignorance and the vices that they have followed for so long, they cannot possibly know the meaning of freedom and the meaning of to know God, to know truth, and to be free. Your beloved Saint Germain, your beloved Sanat Kumara, and all those who serve the holy cause of the Great White Brotherhood have ever yearned to see more among mankind express the fullness of their great God identity, to feel the pulsations of the flame of freedom within themselves. Do you realize, blessed ones, and I give you here an example, that they of one country who hear the martial music, that is the anthem of another country, cannot find within themselves the responses that are generated within the hearts of those who are native sons of their own land. This then, blessed ones, illustrates to your consciousness the need to evoke within yourselves the understanding of what it means to be natives of universal love. Oh, precious ones, do you say that universal love is but a word that men have mouthed in God's name without having ever realized? I say to you then, let us strip from their consciousness this concept and idea, and reveal to them the mighty meaning of life in its healing ministration to bring to mankind the power of the angelic hosts and the power of your own sister planet, Venus. Oh, precious ones, if the mankind of Earth in all of their scientific advancement were only able to lay aside their precious human conceit, they would realize that God has performed his miracles out of the mouths of babes, and will continue to do so until the very last individual upon this planet has obtained his freedom. There is no need for lamentation, nor over concern for the children of men, for the mills of karmic justice continue to grind, and yet in the grinding, human beings and human hearts are sometimes ground almost to powder and then dispersed to the four winds as individuals feel the lash of the very karmic conditions which they have created, and so often, dear hearts, are unable to realize in their consciousness just why they seem to be punished. Oh, precious ones, there is no divine intent
to punish mankind as such, and yet the word, the Lord chastiseth those whom he loveth, brings to all mankind the realization that the chastisement is not without purpose, but is in order to bring to the mighty threshing floor of God a purified vessel fit to adorn the Lord's table, and also a vessel that God may work a wondrous work through for the perfecting of the nations and the instruction of those who require it. Now they that have all wisdom do not require a teacher. They that are able to break through the wall that separates this world from that world of pure divine light do not require any instruction, for the Lord is the light of the tabernacle of their being, and there is no night there in their being. Where individuals still are commingled shadow substance together with the mighty sunbeam radiance of God as he seeks to break forth his internal shining from the center of their being to the periphery, mankind must endure the karmic bonds and welcome the karmic lash with joy, saying, "So go I to my eternal reward as I heed thy divine instruction and acknowledge thy principality and power." Dear hearts, there is no other power except God. Though the world seemed to be teeming with an abundance of all types of energy, there is only one type of energy in the final primal source principle, and that is God. Yet upon this mighty tide of pure divine energy, mankind have imposed the most frightful distortions, which have manifested as shadowed substance, the frightful dragons and ghosts of mankind's own misdeeds and misconduct. They are then to the present hour, and will continue until man have found their freedom in its fullness, to reap the reward of their own sowing, whether those rewards be the blessings of Almighty God or the banality of man's ignorance as the weed of imperfection. And today, the Holy Spirit of cosmic truth stands waiting to illumine the mind of man. The readiness of that mind to be illumined determines to some degree as to whether or not it shall occur at a specific and given moment. When mankind are ready to relinquish all of their own human petty foibles and give themselves without reserve to their own mighty I Am presence, they will find a wondrous power flooding into their world and giving them a new type of consecration, a consecration that is the allness of God as he dedicates afresh the hearts of men to explore the wonders of eternity and the flowerings of infinity. Oh, beloved ones, all outer symbols, all floral offerings, all senses of beauty, all that man with his eye beholds, is but a spark of resemblance to the holy wonders that are revealed to those that love God with all their heart, with all their mind, and with all their being. Being is God, and the fullness thereof. I am is the fullness of God's being. Man's being, through identification with the power of his I Am presence, lifts him out of the doldrums of human experience, the shoals and the rocks that beat mankind, as it were, into submission, and causes him to rise into the wonderful pure consciousness that is of the light. There he beholds from the higher dimensions the great truths that were all around him throughout every moment of his previous existence, yet cloaked, mind you, with all sorts of enigmas which were in themselves a puzzlement to his inquiring mind. Yet today, the mighty light of God continues to seek to save that which is lost through the ministrations of the ascended masters and through the power of the cosmic emissaries of our brotherhood. Mankind have watched the lives of the avatars as they have passed across the screen of the centuries. The hearts of mankind have been thrilled with the wonders of the lives of the saints. Oh, I tell you, precious ones, though the pages of history are filled with the infamous deeds of men like unto Genghis Khan and others, even down unto your modern Hitler, still I tell you, precious ones, that those who have made their mark upon the hearts and minds of men are the beings that are Christ, anointed of God, as it were, radiant beings possessing the healing power of God, the rainbow radiance of the eternal promise, and the uplifting power to heal all that has been turned out of the way by reason of mankind's misuse of the power of knowledge and the power of influence. You know, precious ones, in the history of other planetary bodies, you will find in due course of time that similar episodes have occurred, such as are presently occurring upon the planet Earth. And yet, because of the great cosmic storehouses of experience, we know every step that mankind may take, yet cannot always accurately predict it, because of the very unpredictable nature of mankind, as they do not cling to their own divine presence, but rather to a form of godliness, a form or a shape that in itself is a shapeless mass. Precious one, do you understand of what I am speaking? Do you understand the great cosmic truth that I would reveal to you? If it were possible, I would tear aside the veil and let you see the cosmic record of that which we expect to occur upon your own blessed planet. Yet there is a reason why we are so very sparse in the great white brotherhood in revealing these things, choosing to reveal in most cases only the most blessed events, so that mankind will not have a fixation of consciousness upon the negative, and thus provide a vehicle of motion whereby the juggernaut of mankind's own experiences tumble down into the hopper of mankind's present era, and thus bring about discord and distress to mankind. We prefer rather to hold in abeyance even the most direful matters, choosing to exert cosmic pressures upon the hearts of men, so that prayers by the faithful will stay the plagues and stop the baneful events from occurring before they happen. Yet, O mankind, we know full well that many times mankind are in great distress, as they behold the tumult of all forms of suffering descending upon them. Precious ones, we cannot, if we would, stop all that is manifested, for it would not be the part of divine wisdom. If the planet were not chastened at all, it would come to pass that the laggard bands and the laggard consciousness that has held mankind prisoner for so long would continue to exert the baneful influences upon them that cause them to be victims of commercialization and greed, and prevent the inflow of divine compassion from amalgamating hearts for cosmic purposes upon the one altar of God. Therefore, all events must be understood in the light of purity and the light of reason. The light of divine reason is a holy light. And I think now of Florence Nightingale as she ministered in the profession of nursing to mankind as a symbol of hope to those who were waiting for the dawn of health. O mankind, waiting so to see the healing light of God descend upon the family of nations, know that only in the consistency of cosmic effort will you win your freedom. You have moved down through the stream of history to a place where great scientific advancement is bestowed upon you. And you live also in an era of religious illumination. Yet divine illumination must come to each individual, whereby he is able to sift the chaff from the wheat and to see the pure golden grain of cosmic knowledge poured into the storehouse of his own mind to illumine him with great cosmic light and the power of God and the angelic host. O blessed ones, do you know the power of God to wipe away every tear from your eye? Do you know the power of God to prevent all forms of sighing or distress of spirit? Do you know the great generating power of God, which is known to us as the regenerative power? For it symbolizes the second part of creation. The first part of creation, which is the earthy, holding its direction in the realm of the generative, in beginnings and endings. The second part of the great creation of God, which is the Lord from heaven, the Christ of every man, being the regenerative portion thereof, which descends to animate forever, that mankind may not only abide in temporal houses of clay, but in eternal houses of light, holding then the atoms that comprise his own identity and being into complete control and God mastery, whereby each atom in the system of man's being is like a great universal system, his heart being like a radiant sun, and the circling power and orbiting of the planetary forces that comprise his being, holding then the sweetest notes of cosmic harmony that abide in the principality that comprises his selfhood forever. This then, of course, is always subject to the great cosmic power of God that descends from the great central sun and causes each cosmic being, each angelic being, each illumined and ascended master to bow to the God flame within one another and say to one another, I kiss the flame of God within thy heart. I feel the peace flow forth from thee. One peace, not apart, but a peace that is unity. The great spark of unity unites then with the heart of unity in the central sun. This greeting, not always spoken with words, but spoken by the power of God in the great, eternal power and language of the Spirit, brings joy in a continual flow from all divine beings, and thus heaven is ever filled with rejoicing. And when the children of this world learn to imitate the power of the angelic host and the power of the Christ of all ages, showing forth Christ's charity in memory of the eternal Father, Mother, God, life will beat with celestial happiness, and the martial drumbeat signifying human strife will be ended. The strife will be o'er. All struggle will cease. And the wonderful power of the Prince of Peace will be more than a word to be bandied about by human beings, but will be the great divine cosmic reality, whereby under the power of the Lord CHOHAN, all energy ever given to this planetary body will be robed in light, used by light, guided by light, motivated by light, and will be naught but light essence in manifestation. That which I have spoken to you tonight has been partly within the realm of your understanding and partly within the realm of eternal symbology. The deciphering of our symbols will occupy the time of those who love the things of the Spirit more than they love the things of the flesh. Of such as these are the children of God. And now may there descend from the angelic host the mightiest power of light's dominion on wings of spiritual glory, to bring to you the peace of our level, the tones of our octave, the harmony of our spheres, and the welcome of the great white brotherhood to all aspirants, those who are not afraid to journey forth into the pioneer areas of spiritual unfoldment, men and women of cosmic courage. These shall not continue in the dark. These shall walk up the mountain to the place where the flame of God lies. All then shall recognize the altar of God, because the summit of your being is within the province of your being. It is within your own heart, and your heart is within God's heart. The universe is within thee, and thou art within the universe. Fear not. Be of good cheer, O children of the one Father. It is the I am in you, center of being, which is the city of light, the city of our God, and upon our planet as upon your own. This city is most honored, is set upon a hill, and cannot ever be hid. I thank you, and I bless you, and I bid you good evening.
precious ones of God's holy light, with what joy and blitheness of spirit I am come to you today as I contemplate the meaning of cutting you free from every discordant outer manifestation and bringing you into that complete attunement which will enable you to be and to know the joy which I have this day in the mighty power of life's victory to bring forth in every individual the fullness of cosmic Christ purity. Precious ones, we are so aware of the many kindnesses which are extended from one life stream to another, and of how the very infectious nature of joy causes it to be spread abroad everywhere. We recognize, of course, the converse action of how that mankind, through the opposite qualities of joy, are able to infect the worlds of others with discord and self-pity. But I call to your attention, precious ones, that such actions can never bring about your freedom or your perfection or your happiness. God, in his great concept of universal love, is the fullness of that love everywhere you move when you recognize it. When you give power to the victory of light, you are able to transform your thoughts by right action. For this is as much doing as an outer action. Precious ones, mankind may sit in a corner of a garret and project feelings of untoward hatred out to another individual, bringing about in some cases complete despondency in the life of the individual whom they are projecting at. But I say, let it be done today, that it has no power for all upon earth, and may all speedily be cut free from all influence of negation projected knowingly or unknowingly to any part of life. But you, precious ones, have a more than ordinary bonus of cosmic grace, for you are able to lift your hearts toward your own mighty I Am presence and call forth from your God presence the descent of the pure white light radiance that is locked within the heart of your presence, awaiting your call to flood the world and your entire consciousness with that mighty release of cosmic power which will give you your most practical victory in this day and age. Mankind, unfortunately, in their outer consciousness, so often do create veils of illusion whereby life is not outpictured to them as it in reality is, but is manifesting a very dense molasses-like quality whereby the very strands of time and substance seem to pour forth with great pain and travail. This is not necessary, beloved ones, for your own divine presence is the source that releases even time from the eternal being of God into manifest segments of realization that mankind may understand and experience in the world of form those various sets of circumstances calculated to give you your freedom over all outer conditions and bring you into that high measure of cosmic perfection that is your own rightful inheritance and divine portion. O precious ones, as the world today totters on the brink of conflict and wars not only of ideology but of a very extreme nationalism and old racial hatreds, I say to you, let the children of light, the world around, take the mighty circle and sword of blue flame, that is my own forte, and use it and invoke it today to cut mankind free from the delusions of the centuries, that their souls may be purged of the awful inequities that are recorded and being recorded even to the current day against mankind as a karma of negation. Precious ones, the mighty light of God that does not fail is able to bring all mankind to their very knees before their own divine portion and cause them to recognize that as they look to God with reverence and respect, they cannot then turn their gaze toward mankind with hatred. This is the double-pronged action of man's outer consciousness that seems to feel that he may worship at the shrine of the Spirit of God and then turn and rend the spirit of man with frightful abortions of the grace of God that has been given unto him. Precious ones, pause and reflect for a moment. All of the wonderful blessings that have been bestowed upon all mankind and upon you individually are given to you in order that you might be an outpost of cosmic perfection. They are given to you for a cosmic purpose, and so that you may fulfill your own individual missions. But, precious ones, ever so often there comes into the consciousness of mankind an extreme sense of diminishing, whereby individuals begin to shrink within themselves and feel that they themselves are simply a little bit of nothing. I choose to use this word today to show you the feeling that mankind has. And this sometimes occurs on the very eve of victory, when you have striven for so long and yet have not, in your own opinion, attained the wonderful perfection which you know exists in the heart of your presence, but have not, in your own opinion, been able to successfully evoke. O precious ones of the light, do not be discouraged in this day and age if you do not always behold your outer perfection in its fullness made manifest. Recognize that if you have in your own fullness of heart consecrated your energies to God, if you have done naught of that which is wrong unto your fellow man or unto God, but have striven to fulfill the great law to the best of your ability, then do not be concerned with outer human thought, or be concerned even with the feelings of the carnal mind, which may be projected at you to tell you that you are nothing, when in reality the very power of the universe and the power of the Godhead is actually focused within your heart. I tell you, precious ones, there is no more sinister activity today in action than that which would belittle the mighty power of God within the human heart and spirit. I say then, let us decree to encircle with a cosmic circle and sword of blue flame all of these outer conditions that would deny mankind their ascension and would cause them to shrink in the eyes of themselves, when in reality they ought to be magnifying the mighty power of light that is within them, and to bask in the effulgent sun of their ever-increasing God identity. O precious ones, when you recognize that which is your cosmic portion and will evoke it and stand in it, the light that will be around about the force field of your own being, the rays of cosmic emanation that will pour forth from you are so transcendent as to sweep all life within your force field towards the heavens, and the heavens will be telling mankind of the great victory that shall come to all life, which shall put an end to outer strife and the struggle which mankind have endured for so long, and will enable them to see how Saint Germain's mighty golden age can, in the twinkling of an eye, be borne across the planetary body and bring to the harvest of perfection the souls of men to be tried before the judgment bar of their own mighty I Am presence and given their freedom. Do you see, beloved ones, so long as men lurk in the dark, they cannot have their freedom. Won't you please be seated? Precious ones of the light, all that which is in the darkened recesses of men's consciousness must be brought into the great hallowed circle of their own heart flame for cosmic redemption. Mankind do not realize that when they, so to speak, sweep under a rug the actions that pass through them, they do not bring it into the light of cosmic purity and win their freedom. But when they know that they are born in divine hope to accomplish the Christly purposes which Almighty God has envisioned for them, they will recognize that there is never any need to fear the manifestation of the light. But if there is any need for fear, it is the fear of grasping in some recessed fold of their consciousness some form of unpure energy and letting it lurk there to infect them at the very moment of victory. Oh, precious ones, if you will only draw forth, and if necessary, drag forth from the recessed folds of your consciousness all that is not of the pure light of God, and will honestly tell yourselves the truth about your own thoughts, you will find a new era of cosmic purification coming into manifestation in your world, and you will have your victory, and that swiftly, I assure you. So long, however, as mankind feel the need to conceal, as it were, even from God, the thoughts that are hidden within their hearts, they cannot have their fullness of cosmic purity, for they are performing an act that is of the night and not of the light. Stand therefore today in the fullness of compassion toward all mankind, and especially include your own blessed beings. Do not permit any individual upon this planet, precious ones, to interfere with the divine plan and its outpicturing in your world. In the name of heaven, blessed ones, how many hours do you suppose are left to many of you in this room as pertains to the hours that you have already spent upon this blessed planet in this embodiment? Well then, precious ones, do you realize how necessary it is that you shall obtain the fullness of your divine perfection without interference from any individual upon this planetary body? I tell you, there is nothing more important than the manifestation of your divine God presence in human form, and the fullness of the outworking of the plan which your own presence embodies in its heart of light. Come then and reason together with the power and light of true illumination, and recognize that today the greatest teaching, the greatest wisdom that could possibly be brought into manifestation within you must come to naught unless it becomes applied knowledge. When knowledge is applied and mankind are able to see the fruit thereof, then and only then does the sun of immortal being rise upon the individual horizon, and that one moves swiftly toward the zenith of their perfection that manifests at the full orb noontide of God identity. I tell you, blessed ones, there is no more important action under heaven than the fullness of your own divinity manifesting through you. However, I wish to caution you that there is never any need to permit your God-seeking for your own perfection to interfere with the divine services which you render the causes of light and beloved Saint Germain's cosmic destiny for the entire planet. You see, precious ones, Saint Germain is so inexorably linked with the destiny of this age, that today even the emissaries of heaven think in terms of his precious name. For he has obtained from God, the very God of his own being, a great momentum of service to freedom, and has expanded the flame of freedom for centuries, offering all of his own hard-won victory and momentum unto all mankind, and especially the students of light, for their own precious victory, that they may never again enter into the former state of consciousness and be overcome by human density, but will be able to overcome human density by the power of the Holy Spirit and by the power of the great cosmic light poured out through their own worlds. O precious ones of the light, although my message today may be somewhat brief compared to the span which I could speak to you, I assure you that it is most important, for it speaks to you of your eternal victory, which is won individually per se in this day and age as you overcome every little mite of imperfection that stands as an impediment in your pathway. There are many times when individuals feel that some small imperfection is not very important. Well, precious ones, if it is just enough to hinder you from obtaining the fullness of your victory, I would say that it is very important. I would like to call to your attention that on many of the scales of the world today, a mere fraction of an ounce will tip the beam of the scale so that it will weigh just the right amount to go over that ounce or pound. Therefore I say to you, beloved ones, you never know when some little mite of imperfection may be just the required offering which you must give to your own divine presence before you can be wholly consecrated into the victory of your ascension. I say to you then, you must stand and watch with the Christ of your being every hour, and be willing, if necessary, to sweat, as it were, great drops of blood in the holy offering. This is symbolic of the life energy of your being poured out for a eternal crown. I tell you today, in the Olympic Games, for a mere temporal crown, mankind exert at times the full energies of their life force, and sometimes draw upon the universe itself to give them additional power. Therefore it is not unreasonable, in behalf of the great eternal purposes, for anyone to exert a great cosmic effort as Christ did in the garden, and to offer in the Gethsemane of their being the fullness of the tide of their life for and on behalf of their victory. For I think here that we deal not with simple individual life, the life of the flesh, the physical manifestation, but we deal here with the fullness of the eternal being of man, which cannot die and which remains linked to the great power of your own mighty I am God presence. Therefore, this consecration which I am today inspiring you to make is not the consecration of an idle moment, but it is the fullness of eternal victory which can be yours, as it has been ours and has been the blessing of many among mankind who have already ascended in the past into their ascension. Blessed ones, stand fast today, stand fast today, stand fast in the fullness of all that the ascended masters have done, for God is with thee and is determined to give you your victory if you are determined to receive it. I tell you, precious ones, the smile on the face of the ascended masters this morning as they contemplate your victory is wondrous to behold. Therefore, let their smile be locked in your heart and amplified in your being, that a wave of hope like a tidal wave of love may sweep around the world to give men greater hope, greater compassion, and greater courage to know, to do, to dare, and to be silent when necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, in God's holy name, for and on behalf of your victory, and for and on behalf of every ascended being, I thank you and I bid you a blessed good afternoon.
Golden days in the sunshine of a happy youth, golden days full of innocence and full of truth. In our hearts we remember them all else above, golden days, days of youth and love. How we laughed with a gaiety that had no sting, looking back through memory's haze. We will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young, golden days.
As the shimmering sunlight reflects on the waters of Lake Titicaca, I am mindful of the great golden sun of illumination that is poured out into the matrix of creation. I am reminded also of the vast endeavors of the great white brotherhood and of the mighty tide of devotion that has been poured forth from countless hearts. As you reflect for a moment upon they of divers races and creeds who are serving in the invocation of the great light, some serving in lamaseries in Tibet and some in ancient temples still existing in South America, you must realize that God is praised in many languages and that the language of the heart is understood by Him when silently offered in sacred prayer. Precious ones who love the flame of golden, radiant illumination, know that the radiance of the lovely Lady MERÚ is also charged forth this morning as I am coming forth to direct into your consciousness some measure of cosmic illumination. You have heard it said that mankind must bear the weight of their own karma, and it is so true, for the world today is indeed reaping that which they have sowed. And yet, precious ones, there is a way of escape that is made plain to mankind. The very basic simplicity of this way of escape passes unnoticed by human consciousness, for it is too simple for the average individual to understand. It simply refers to the basic statement, go forth and do well. Mankind know in their own hearts the difference between that which is iniquitous and destructive and that which is good and brings forth good fruit. And yet, although they know this and feel this within their being, there is a veil of ignorance that clouds their minds and causes the stubbornness of human will to assert itself and become a karma-making factor in their own individual worlds. O precious ones, if you realized at the moment that you committed a wrong act, that it was wrong, would it not be the part of wisdom then to call upon the law of forgiveness? Why do mankind persist in ignoring the opportunity to correct a wrong the very moment that it happens? Why do they find it necessary to defer the payment of a just debt until long afterward, thus piling up a mountain of debit chargeable to their own souls? O precious ones, we could give you this morning a wonderful series of examples of how this has been done, but it is not thought the part of wisdom for us to dwell upon the negative aspects of karma, but rather upon the benefits that may be conferred upon mankind by doing well. For it is this type of momentum that we would generate within mankind's hearts and consciousness. Do you know, precious ones, there are some individuals in this activity whose very nature is so innocent of harm that they go forward and actually perform benign acts without even taking thought as to what good they shall do. This has become, shall we say, first nature to them, not second nature, and they are therefore delighted at every opportunity to do well. These individuals are completely unmindful as to whether or not they shall receive credit for the good that they do. And as I am speaking to you on this subject, it comes to my heart now that many individuals do not receive a reward for the good that they do simply because they expect a reward and they perform their acts in anticipation of the reward itself, and thus the joy they take in the anticipation of it is often its own reward. Precious ones, if mankind would only understand then that they must do good for the sake of good itself, they would receive in childlike simplicity the greatest blessing that they could ever imagine in their consciousness. And this is the reason why the Christ taught in simplicity, saying unto mankind, Verily I say unto thee, except ye become as little children, ye can in no wise enter in. Precious ones, as you behold the flowers of the field springing forth from the land with all the electronic, radiant colorings which nature endows the floral kingdom with, do you realize how spontaneously the mighty devas of nature and the tiny devas that design each floral blossom do function and bring forth without a thought of reward? They work solely in the consciousness of joy and the ideal of perfection, knowing that that which they bring forth will be a service of beauty to delight mankind. And even upon the landed area of the earth, where there are no human eyes to behold, they still execute their designs with greatest care and love. For after all, they know that in the hierarchy of the Devic kingdom, the superior Deva will come to inspect the finished work and will nod in approval as he sees each perfect design. Therefore, precious ones, you see how in the nature kingdom the tiny beings of the elements do function, that they might do well for the sake of perfection and for love of righteousness. Today, mankind have fallen as in ages past, into the pit of human delusion, the delusions of the ego. And they do indeed reap a tremendous, dissonant manifestation that comes to them from the past as a result of the negative karma which they have generated. But precious ones, they could reverse that karma by the simple act of opening their hearts in cosmic purity to the light of God, and then speaking directly from their hearts to their own mighty I Am Presence, and saying, O mighty I Am Presence, take dominion in my world and see that I do not make a mistake. See that I do not in any way bring forth harm to any part of life this day. See that I am a living person of comfort, a flame of beauty, a radiant outpicturing of God's own presence. Precious ones, this call made to the very heart of being cannot fail to be answered, and then individuals will gently relax in the attitude of peace and harmony, and they will bring forth good fruit upon the altar of their being. Down through the ages, frightful momentums have been created by mankind through their own human ego. I would like to point out to you that some of the worst individuals whose records are the blackest are those who sought to follow some religious order or form, and because they were not given the honor which they sought, they turned away from that particular order, or from that service, or from the individuals with whom they were associated with great bitterness of heart, and proceeded to create a mountain of karmic circumstances for themselves in the future. Precious ones, I point this out to you so that you may realize the subtlety of temptation. For temptation comes to mankind in a way that is not always recognized. Individuals gaze at another person, and the sinister force comes in and speaks to them and tells them that another individual is thinking some wrong thought about them. They accept this into their feeling world, not questioning the truth of this, but accepting it as though it were so, and they proceed to become violently angry in many cases and subject to human riptides because of their listening to the whispering of their own vain imaginations. I have known of countless cases where individuals have listened to this whispering, where there was not so much as one iota of truth in the thought that was projected into their consciousness. And yet that individual who accepted this vain imagining fell from grace and descended into a pit of human slime and sent forth the vibratory action of hate and hate creations against their innocent brothers. I say this today not in defense of any individual or as a specific example of that which has happened here in this city or elsewhere, but as a general statement of that which has happened across the face of the earth. This is a very basic instruction, you may say, but oh precious ones, how can you expect that we shall give you the deepest instruction if you are still becoming subject to these simple problems of the personality and the ego? I tell you, precious ones, mankind do not realize the opportunity that they have to hear our dictations and to receive this precious word as we release it. Mankind seem to feel that they themselves are judges of all of that which is holy and that which is not, and they set themselves up as though they were able to discern all conditions in their outer wisdom. Precious ones, the ascended masters, who have all truth, themselves are very careful in some cases not to judge without consulting the Akashic records, and yet mankind are prone to rush forth with the first breath in criticism and condemnation of one another. Do you see then what the result of this has been through the ages? Will you pause for a moment and think of all of the good that could have been done, blessed ones, even by Caesar, had he recognized the radiance of the Christ and accepted the fullness of the light which beloved Jesus brought in that day? Do you realize, precious ones, the destructive momentum that was generated by the Christian persecutions, where individuals were burned at the stake and crucified and stoned? Do you realize that all of that weight of karma has had to be paid for by the individuals who were responsible for it? And so the entire human race has been hindered by these laggard manifestations of the human ego, the seeking for a temporal crown by individuals. And yet I feel disposed to tell you what may be almost a secret. I would like you to know that there are individuals today, even associated with activities of light, who in their own hearts are still seeking a temporal crown and are still seeking for an outer reward. These individuals often pacify themselves with the statement that they seek only good. But the truth of the record, as it is revealed to the ascended masters, shows it to be otherwise. And therefore these individuals, if they would earn their ascension or find their freedom, must be willing to lay down their total life for the sake of their own God presence. This is the only way that they can truly find a restoration of the old boundaries of the great cosmic temple. Do you know that which I am speaking of? Precious ones, I am referring to the great cosmic temple created by the wise master builder for each individual life stream. You see, precious ones, mankind have builded many outer temples and tabernacles, but the tabernacle which God himself has created, made without hands, is the most glorious of all. And every individual has a palace of light, a tabernacle of God, builded for them individually as a force field of iridescent purity. This is resident within the body of substance of your own mighty I Am presence, and is waiting to descend as the habitation of your own being when you are ready to receive it. This is your seamless garment of light, a temple of cosmic purity, which is able to journey not only upon earth, but upon all systems of worlds, and be taught the mysteries of the universal silence. But precious ones, mankind are simply not ready for these wonderful spiritual gratuities so long as they persist in seeking for the baubles of life and the mere outer respect of mankind. Did you know, precious ones, that there were any number of people that were present at some of our classes who actually were a bit ashamed lest they should be seen coming to the classes? These individuals felt that they would not like to have some of their friends see them come here, for they did not feel that the activity was as popular as they would have liked. Well, precious ones, individuals who feel this way do not truly realize the great cosmic joy that they are actually giving up for the mere temporary pleasure of pleasing some individual who at any given moment might turn to them and rend them with anger and human viciousness. Who would you have your friends be, precious ones? Would you make friends of mankind with their changing disposition, their great vacillation, their tremendous quirks, and all of the thoughts that they have? Or would you be as Abraham was, a friend of God? Would you have as your peers the cosmic beings, or would you be pleased to serve the historical ideas of man that desire to erect a monument unto themselves among mankind? These are truly sepulchres, whited indeed on the outside, but within full of dead men's bones, as the Christ has said. The flesh of mankind, the substance of human ideas, is all of bondage, and yet the world continues to pursue the outer glamour and the baubles of the world. It is not that we would generate in you this day a disrespect for the world. We would honor the world with its own cosmic dignity. But the point in question here, most precious ones, is that mankind simply cannot find the great cosmic gifts that they seek unless they are willing to pay the price. And that price is very high, for the reward is very great. The price is the all that mankind have received, and the reward is the all that God can give. But all of this must be balanced in the eternal sequences which pour forth from God's own hand. It is not, as you have the saying, that Rome was builded in a day, that mankind must expect that all of the bounties of heaven will be bestowed upon them in a moment. Some of the students years ago were imbued with the idea that once they had this great law, once the light was handed to them as on a platter, they could offer a few decrees, attend a few services, listen to a few dictations, and immediately make their ascension in the light with all of the victory of heaven offered to them at once. Let me remind you, precious ones, that an avatar is one who has come through the crucible of life with a great cosmic momentum of service. Let me remind you that the centuries themselves scarcely can contain all of the services that were rendered by cosmic beings and ascended masters to this blessed planet. Let me also tell you that some of these cosmic beings and some of these ascended masters offered upon other systems of worlds, as well as this one, a tremendous service to the light, so that they have merited every single blessing which God has ever given them. It does not mean, blessed ones, it does not mean because mankind feel in their own hearts that they merit some specific blessing, that God himself, in his great cosmic sense of justice, will necessarily agree with mankind. Likewise, blessed ones, the reverse is true, and therefore there are many individuals who are very humble and have offered a great service to the light, who feel that they have done but little on behalf of the holy cause. And yet, when the cosmic record is opened, they will find their names are recorded as having offered their all to God without any expectation of reward. Now, the reason I am conveying this teaching to you today is because that it is necessary for many people in many places. There are some precious souls who do not actually realize the basic simple truth of that which I am speaking. These individuals in some cases are not even aware of the fact that they do expect any reward, for they have never intricately examined the folds of their own consciousness. They have not even examined their actions or their reactions to circumstances. And when they felt in their own being slightly hurt or wounded by the act of non-recognition by someone, those individuals did not stop to know that this was wrong. They simply acted in a human way through custom and habit. Do you see then, precious ones, how that if you would win your victory, it must come to you not only through the offering of decrees, the attendance upon ascended master addresses, the absorption of cosmic vibratory rates that are very high, but also upon certain adjustments in your own world, so that you yourselves will become like unto the ascended masters in your thoughts. The ascended masters do not, precious ones, seek that they might have honor from you. When you stand, for example, to honor an ascended being, it is not done because we seek your honor, nor because we seek to receive some reward from you or vain recognition. For every time that this occurs, we offer this as a wave offering to the mighty I Am Presence in gratitude that your hearts have responded to the light that has leaped forth from our being. Precious ones, in this day and age, when the planet is teeming with such a multitude of souls, and the golden age is actually teetering on the brink of manifestation, not knowing whether to teeter backward and fall into a period of delay or fall forward into manifestation, mankind must realize how important it is that they re-examine their own motives and intents, and do not seek so much to criticize God and the masters, or the chelas who bring forth the words of truth, or the format or order of service, or some vibratory action which they themselves have created and then charge to another, but that they rather will seek to see how much light and love they can give to the great cosmic treasures. Remember, precious ones, that if your consciousness were as small as a thimble, and the tube of radiant light which pours down from above as small as a needle, if you persisted long enough, you could fill the thimble and then call for more light to enlarge it to the size of a barrel, and then to a great lathe, and without limit further expand it, simply because you yourselves were diligent in the service of the light. The time has come when accountability for the actions of the law be understood by the chelas. For too long, individuals have, by criticism, felt that they could evoke a vicarious response from the universe, whereby the universe itself, being criticized by the individual, would bring forth the fruit which they felt in their own consciousness of self-righteousness should manifest. This is not the part of wisdom or of divine illumination. It is simply human foolishness, for individuals must recognize that God in His infinite wisdom has already prepared a handiwork of light, a fabric of intense cosmic purity, that this garment of light, the swaddling garment of the man-child Christ of every man, is already functioning and is already perfectly outpictured in the universal consciousness. It simply waits the recognition of individuals and the drawing forth from the higher octaves of that priceless treasure. Therefore, let all criticism of the deity cease. For I tell you, precious ones, mankind do not realize it, but they are actually criticizing God when they criticize some of His manifestations. They do this without understanding, and in ignorance, it is true, but the law does not excuse it, for it is a fact that it creates areas of blindness in their own consciousness. When an individual is unjust to another and gazes upon another person with a wedge of dark substance across the face of their vision, this mote then is actually in their own eye and must be taken out, that they may see the luminous purity of the mighty tide of light that descends from the Christ from on high. Be at peace, precious ones. Be at peace. Let the gentle entreaty of the goddess MERÚ bring to you the import of this cosmic hour. Dearly beloved ones, how radiant is the sun, of my own consort MERÚ. And yet, as he spoke to you in behalf of holy wisdom, I too am come, that I might admonish you as a cosmic mother, and as one associated with the mighty goddess of liberty, to seek to understand holy wisdom in a godlike way. For mankind are so prone to understand God's wisdom in a human way, and this is never the part of divine wisdom. It has never given mankind their freedom through the centuries, and it never will. For it is only when the human is submissive to its divinity and evokes the great God flame that has guided the golden ages of the past, that the children of men will be able to express again the great golden age civilizations of the future. You have heard of the wave of the future. You have yearned to be a part of it, and I am certain that none of you desire to be the mere spume upon the wave that is only the foam of human creation. You seek to be the body of light substance, and to have and to hold reality in your precious consciousness. Understand then that the wisdom of God, although it be simple, is not always simple to understand, for individuals stand in their own light. When you face the sun, precious ones, you do not see or behold a shadow, but when you turn from the sun and walk away from it, the shadow of your own self stands before you, and you walk toward your own shadow. Precious ones, this then is indicative to you of the need to turn and face the light. When individuals find unhappiness manifesting in their world, it is a signal to them that they need more light and require more illumination. It is true that mankind have scarcely used a portion of that which they have, but God in his munificence has continued to pour out his radiance to them. This is the ever-continuing instruction of God, which is exhibited by him in his mighty patience. Gautama, the beloved Lord of the world, has often spoken at our councils of the need for patience in extracting by holy wisdom those great gems of spiritual truth which are resident within the scriptures of the world. Ascended Master dictations are no exception. They are not always so easily realized by man until they are pondered and meditated upon and fitted to the proper foot. For individuals must recognize that of necessity, in giving forth instruction, we cannot always direct a specific instruction to each individual. There are times when we must give a very general instruction, and then there are times when one individual requires instruction so badly that we must actually charge forth a specific piece of cosmic logic for that one. If, of course, individuals accept that which is not intended for them, then this is not the fault of the cosmic hierarchy. It may, however, denote a little element of doubt about themselves. It may somehow show forth that they have a need for greater dedication. For those who are truly dedicated to God, who have offered all that they have to his service, are not beggars. They are children of infinite treasure. They are rich beyond compare. And they are indeed sons and daughters of illumination's flame. As I ponder now the need of this generation, I am filled with holy awe, not by the standards of the cosmic masters, but by your standards. For I see the harvest fields so white with human souls, and yet so few that are qualified and ready to give the instruction of the selfless nature of man. I invoke then this day, on behalf of the golden flame of illumination, a greater power of cosmic purity, that the consciousness of men and women long dedicated to the light may become more intent on ways and means of purification of the intellect and the knowing within themselves, so that the divine gnosis may be imparted in a most delicate and lovely manner, and that it will manifest everywhere and shew forth to others the perfect example of that Christ-like radiance which all should share in common as the bond of life. And then the temples of men will be splendid with the light of God, and the architecture of the golden age will manifest in the outer temples, for it will come forth from the inner temples of men's hearts. This is the karma of the future. I thank you, and on behalf of MERÚ, I bid you good afternoon.